Okay, there we go. Good evening. Welcome to the TnB Podcast. What is this now? Episode. I'll put it in the title. Wait, where's the title? Episode 8. This is episode 8. We're prepared as always. How's it going, guys? I've actually got the full crew. All four of them. Well, all four of us. All three of them. How's it going? Devin, Muna, Johan. But we actually got both our commentators here, so that's going to be quite useful because we're going to talk a bit about what happened on Friday. And if you're driving, you probably don't know much. Yeah, I don't know much about the part of the race I was actually involved in. So, guys, what did you make of round 1? Vietnam, new circuit. Did you enjoy it? Good addition to the game or one to forget?
It's on that borderline of Baku and Singapore. So if you love the walls, then yes, then it's lovely. I enjoyed it. I loved it.
You still managed to have a decent result. Where did you end up finishing 5th or 6th or something like that?
6th.
Yeah, you finished 6th, but considering all what happened in the race.
Not too bad.
Yeah, considering all that happened in the race, I mean, I had a bit of a disaster. I had a great start, and then we got straight into that safety car, and when the safety car ended, I spun it, so I was playing catch up from that point on, and a few broken wings later, and eventually clipped the curb into a wall. So good times. But that's my memories of Vietnam from the commentators, Devin and Jan. What did you make of the circuit in terms of like overtakes, exciting racing? Not really. What did you make of it?
Okay, I would say maybe a little bit disappointed in the sense of it was not that many wing replacements as where everybody made it sound like it's going to happen, and you thought there's going to be a couple of more crashes, which didn't really happen. So kudos to the guys who are actually still putting up a good show and give each other the relevant space on track. So it was still good, clean racing, I mean, but battle-wise, it was awesome because there was a couple of epic battles, and we thoroughly enjoyed it from a comms point of view. I mean, and two guys that come to mind already, YZ, Matt. Of course, for a while there was Quentin in the front, and then obviously even Matt as well. There was Muna. So a couple of guys really, really took fight each other. There was Gavin, Rob. So it's nice to see when guys pitch up at the first race, on track, and it's really racing point. Like I would say, the goods to the wolves.
Just brought up the. If you're watching, I've just brought up the championship points on your screen. I'm sure you've seen them, but if you haven't, there they are. Johan, any on the bonus points? Who got what? Who got pole and what landed up happening with driver of the day? I know what happened, but I'm asking anyway.
Yeah, so pole position was actually Muna, so Muna got bonus 6 points. Fastest lap was the Pink Pig, so he got 2 extra points there. Then with driver of the day, it was actually a lockdown versus the commentators because each commentator backed a different horse. And of course, it's not something that you can really take to the stewards channel because also for obvious reasons. So it was something that we had to sort out amongst ourselves. And being in a deadlock in the end, I took the driver of the day points and we split it. And driver of the day went ultimately to YZ and to Matt. So both of them got 2.5 points, which explains the 0.5 on the log there for both of them.
So there's your championship standings after round 1. Quinton and Kimmy separated by, I'm not going to say 2.5 points. It's just like 3 points. So not much difference at the top just yet. And then seems like Sebastian in third. What saved you was that those 6 bonus points.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that really helped your result because you actually got 25 points for the round, which is
Yeah, I should have actually been seventh. Realistically.
Mata
So
just behind you on 24.5, and then Nizmax on 23, Robbie on 21, Gavin 19. So nothing much in it really. It's really close there between third and seventh. How's it going, Rob? We see Rob has joined us again. He's in the comment section. Thanks for coming to listen to us talk talk rubbish. It's the only thing we're good at. So oh yes, and then obviously in terms of the constructors, not much in it. Actually, Red Bull leads that battle, 37.5 points. That's going to be a thing we're going to have to get used to. And then Williams, 36 points. So nothing in it there at the top. Ferrari 32, Alfa Romeo 28, Racing Point 27. So still close there. And well, look at that. My team's in fourth place. We're doing so well. Thanks, Muna. Oh yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I'm his test driver. But so yeah, for Vietnam, what's your final conclusion? Will you be sad if it's not in season two, or will you not really miss it?
I'd actually be sad if it's not in season two. Because it's one of those tracks where a lot of people are judging it now, but all of us did that when Baku was first on the track list and France, for example. So we just need to grow with it a bit and we might enjoy it. I mean, it's got nice high speed, right against the wall. It's basically a high speed Monaco single track. I enjoy it. Back to what Maverick said, it's about that track familiarity, getting to know the track, and I think once you have that you get that rhythm. Because once you have that rhythm, if one corner just flows into the other, then that is it. Because that's pretty much what happens on all the other tracks. Once you know it, it flows, and you're more comfortable. So the more we do it, the more generation the guys eventually will get the hang of it. It's not a bad track. It's actually a nice track. It's got everything in there. Tight corners, long straights. It's just a matter of getting used to it.
Hello, Daniel. I see Daniel also there in the comment section. How's it going? Uh, so it's good. We start off with the TnB, and then these guys dribble in here slowly, and then by the time we start talking about F1, we've got a bit of an audience, so it's pretty good. So
I didn't even know Kevin was chasing you, especially that it's like a dive bomb coming from up the stage after that last straight. I think he was actually getting really frustrated because we were in the Singapore pit. And he basically is just like, if you could just let him by. Nope. We're on completely different tire strategies. So I was basically, I messed these reds up a bit, if I'm honest. Because if I let him through, you would have caught the guys ahead.
the thing is, the thing is, what you got to remember, like if this was, in F1, I mean, surely if holding him up at this point in the race is going to benefit you later in the race, it's in your best interest to hold him up. Um, not to the point where you start losing time. Then it's better to just let him go. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no. Also, but earlier on in the day, we had a bit of a practice race, and I also had a scenario with Gavin going into that long straight, and I just kept on outbraking him, and he was getting so frustrated because after like 4 or 5 laps, he couldn't get past, and actually asked me to move, which I declined, So great, so great stuff. Yeah, it is a difficult track to overtake on. I had a lot of trouble with the traction. I don't know why. At first, I thought it was the game, but I've been doing a lot of laps of Bahrain, and it seems fine. So I guess I just never really got the hang of the track before we got to the race, and yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, good enough.
I'm
Also,
not.
I mean, how many laps have you been doing now on the game? Plus the other thing.
Well, now in Bahrain, I've done a lot more than I ever did for Vietnam. So see, we'll hope for something slightly better. Let's go for talking about next Friday with Bahrain. Guys, have any predictions? This is where the commentators can be useful. What do you remember what happened in Bahrain last time around? I think we went there last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were there last season. I actually don't remember. I remember practicing a lot for that race, and I don't remember what happened.
Of course, at that time it wasn't Alpha. No. It was not sober.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. Not sober racing. That was the thing for a season, and it's probably coming back. It's probably coming back.
Yeah.
Rob also Robbie also just confirming there in the comment section it would be very sad to see Vietnam go. So I see you guys are going against me there. I'm not. I wouldn't be too keen to see it back on the calendar. It's one of those. It's one of those for me that if it's not on the calendar, I'm definitely not going to protest it. You know, it's like if Australia's missing or Monte Carlo's missing or Suzuka, it's all good. But we've actually got that on the calendar. That's coming up later on in the season, and that's it's a strong track for Mr. Gavin. So I wonder if he's starting to prepare for that. We've got Legend in the comments as well. Welcome. Thanks for thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for joining. Put you guys under pressure now. Podium predictions. Friday night.
I would say four-way battle. Wazi, the Pig, Mona, and Matt. So,
Devon.
no pressure, Mona. Sounds good to me. I actually didn't even have Gavin in that list, but I had Quinton in there. So just substitute Gavin and Quinton. I think we did 5 laps around there one evening, and it was quite strong around, if I can remember. What I would keep it, but I think we must always keep in mind the whole dark. Dead man, not the right much off. Silent but deadly. Right now. So I think he can easily pull a shot and mess us all up. If I go for a five-way battle, then I definitely bring him in my top five. Because it also purely goes on past experiences. You know, I also had the privilege of commentating a few seasons where Devon's only in second now, so that's why I'm going. I'm purely going on past experiences of these guys driving together. But yeah, this makes also a strong contender. Yeah.
Okay, Devon. Devon, you're also looking at the comment section. So, see, Rob is just putting a comment there that your voice is very soft. So,
Yeah. I think I told him to start. So Devon, please turn up the volume.
so at least everybody in that constructor standings is on the points board.
Yeah.
Even Haas, they've got 10 points, and then yeah, the only drivers without points. Wait, how did I get points?
Because you attended the round.
Oh, I see. Okay, that explains. Okay, so the only drivers without points are the drivers yet to make an appearance. Is Chen making an appearance on Friday night? Do we have any?
You said not this week, next week. So you join round 3. Yeah.
Round 3. I haven't even looked at what is round 3? Mexico. That's why I'm probably blocking it out of my mind.
Is there really Mexico? No. Yeah. Really Mexico? No. And you know what I mean? No.
Yeah, no, but it would be interesting if we got rain in the desert. It's a new game. You never know, boys. You never know.
You imagine we had rain on Friday.
No, really, we can't have rain in Bahrain. Otherwise, all that pace is out the window. I'm not a rain person. So yeah, I don't give podium predictions. So
And I'm not sure if Mac is also back this Friday or also next Friday. Because for the two guys that still have to give a copy of the game.
obviously we're still waiting for Mackett. Hopefully
What's
he'll
his name
jump.
though, isn't it?
Hopefully he'll jump into a car sooner than later. We know he's quick. We've seen him in
Joe
at
Foss is
least I've
back.
commentated on him in other leagues, so he's a quick driver. I've seen it, and Force will be back. He's in the Renault. I think that's confirmed. So Matt, if you're watching, you do have a teammate. He's pretty quick. He's very quick.
18
He's a
confirmed
strong
drivers
teammate, and if I remember correctly, if I remember to last year, I think this is actually quite a good track for Force. So should be a nice one to return to.
Well, he just started playing the game from Saturday afternoon, Sunday evening, and he's already running a low 126s at Bahrain from what I could gather. Well, he told us to fuck all. Sorry.
That's the first one. Nicely done. Nicely done. That's the first one. That's the first one in 8 episodes. Well done. Congrats. Congrats.
Okay, now we can invite Fred to the podcast.
No, let's not do that.
Post did tell us to screw off. He's going to go practice the game on his own. I think it was Sunday. When did he get it? Was Sunday, right? We actually told us that Bagirov is leaving the party and off he went. Yeah,
Okay.
off he went to go do some practice on Bahrain. And I saw something yesterday or so being posted on the group already at the 126s, and he was one that was like hard when he saw the coach the first time. How do you guys manage that? And look at it now. He's up there with those guys. Very interesting.
The cars feel faster, so immediately you'll feel confident on it compared to last year's game.
But that's how I feel. I felt that there's more grip on the game. Felt like I think I told Johan that coming out of the second last corner or the last corner from Canada, I feel more confident getting onto the tower earlier, not hitting the wall, spinning out and hitting the wall. Certain corners handle a lot different compared to previous versions. Although it's the same track, the car handles it reacts differently. Even braking point and stuff feels different, but at nice different. So I feel honestly it's a step in the right direction.
I must say one thing that you have to get used to is not being able to turn off your ERS to harvest or anything. That is something that you really have
I must be honest with you. I must be honest with you. I'm actually enjoying that. Yeah, it's it's one less thing to do in the race. It's one less thing to do in the race, and yeah, I actually enjoy it like that. The way it was, I was getting it wrong most of the time. It's like the only time I'd hear from Jeff when it's like, you got to use some of this energy, or we got to conserve some energy, and I'm like, it's full. How long has this thing been full? Well, how long has this thing been empty? And sometimes I'd drive around with the thing on empty for like 10 laps, and then I'd figure it out. So I'm like, these soft tires are no faster than the hards, and then I'm like, oh wait. It's like good times.
But is it not a bug or glitch in the game itself? Who was going to be that you cannot turn it on during the race? Because in practice, qualifying is there.
Yeah.
It's there.
No, it is there. Qualifying, you've only got hot lap and none.
Yeah. It's only in practice where you can actually have it. You look at career mode, you get practice. It's the only time where you can adjust it.
Yeah,
But I actually went specifically looked into it the last few days after Friday's race. That's exactly the case.
like when we've been running practice sessions, obviously that DRS is different from a qualifying session. But no, I actually enjoy it. I actually enjoy it in the race. It's one less thing to do, and
It's too much.
it lets me focus a little bit more on the right stuff.
Also, it's less buttons on Because now you just flick L1, you just flick L1 on the control. You don't need to press left and right on the D-pad to cycle through the different modes like the last ESK.
Yeah,
So I was wonderful on that one.
what was nice on the wheel is you can assign the buttons. So I have buttons assigned to increase mix or the fuel mix and the ERS and overtake buttons. So there's all there in the steering, which does help. I don't know how well he does it on the controller. I really don't know. I do not know.
Why the freak of nature?
Yes.
So
That speed on a fan yesterday.
And we were ultra.
let's move into the real world of F1. There's a lot to talk about there. A lot happened last weekend. Obviously, we've had 3 races in 3 weeks. We've been spoiled. Now, unfortunately, we're gonna have a bit of a break. So, but at least MotoGP will be there to cover it up a bit. But what did you guys think? What did you guys think of Hungary?
Very boring. Very boring. Come on.
I was hoping that it would actually rain more and harder, and unfortunately the rain didn't come as we all hoped. Because rain would have spiced it up, especially after what happened last in Germany. But yeah, we were not spoiled to that, and like I said, it's a bit of a boring race.
It's actually sad because Hamilton's pace was easily able to lap until fourth place.
And I'm pretty sure if that Mercedes was in push mode or whatever they call it, they could have probably lapped the field besides their teammate. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that. But yeah, look, Merck got it right. What can you say? I mean, Lewis Hamilton was I think it was 4 laps into the race, he was 7 seconds clear. So I mean, at that point, you already sort of know where it's going. But interesting call. Look, I was hoping for a lot more at the start when I saw them pull off the tire warmers and there was inters underneath it. I could see the track was damp, but it wasn't raining, so I was expecting slicks. And when I saw the inters, I immediately knew they're going on inters onto a drying track, so this can't be long. Maybe 5 or 6 laps. But oh, what about Haas? They they jumped on that very quickly, and they were.
And then got penalized afterwards for it.
Yeah.
The penalty though is one of those. The penalty though is one of those typical Formula One. What rule is that? I've never heard that rule before. Oh my word, is that really a thing? I went and tried to do a little bit like I didn't understand the outcome, because the outcome was basically they got a 10-second penalty, and as it was listed was for a driver assist. Um so I went and I tried to look into it, and this is really stupid. But obviously, your mechanics can tell you about the track. They can tell you about the race during the race. Like Jeff, like in the game, you can say rain is coming in 10 minutes. We suggest intermediates. Blah blah blah. They, although, are not allowed to coach the driver in any way during the formation lap. Okay, can't make any sort of suggestions towards the driver on the formation lap. You're not allowed to. So basically, if Magnussen had said, "I'm pitting, get ready," it would have been fine. But since they told him to come in, that's the problem. But if Magnussen had said, "Should I come in?" and they had said yes, he would have still got the penalty. It needed to be his decision basically, and the team had nothing to do with it. They had no say. Otherwise, the penalty comes in. And
Did that happen to Raikkonen last year as well? At Suzuka.
honestly, I don't remember.
Traction control or some traction setting last year. vaguely recall it now. Yeah, and he also had a 10-second penalty added at the end of the race.
Because if the team instigated it and it didn't come from him, then yes, it
Yeah, basically during the race they can tell you, listen, we think you should pit, the rain's coming, and you can listen to your mechanic and you can go in. But on the formation lap, they can't tell you anything. So they can't even confirm if they. You've literally got to say, look, guys, the track's drying up. I'm coming in. Get ready, and they'll be talking in the background, and you say, well, I'm coming in, and they've got to run out with the tires and sort it out. Because if they say okay, then they've confirmed. No, they can't confirm. So so it's a really silly.
Plan B, for example.
Hey,
If they gave
you can say plan B or whatever they said to Lando, what scenario 7 or whatever it was called. But that's during a race, not on a formation lap. Formation lap is considered separate. Just like in the game, you get disqualified, but you can race. It just sends you back. It's for some reason it's considered separate.
Did Alex Albon get a penalty for the drying of the storm?
No, they were cleared. Red Bull were cleared.
Basically, Daniel Kvyat also wanted to come in, but his team didn't get back to him, so he never came in and did that stop. Otherwise, he would have also been in a strong position. I think he was probably faster than the horses, so would have been in a great position. So, what about? Let's try and get an order to this somehow. Maybe go through it team by team. Williams, they were great in qualifying again.
Yes.
race paces out.
Just I've got the race results there on the screen for you to see, and obviously they fell away in the race. Russell finishing a lap behind, but it's not really much to go by because only 5 cars finished on the lead lap. So, but Nicholas Latifi, he had a shocker. Started off great, but how did he land up 5 laps adrift?
Because he came out the pits, and fine, and he got a puncture.
Oh yes.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
So he basically lost the lap trying to get back to the pits, and when he pitted, he's basically losing another lap because that Williams is a bit off the pace.
He finished 5 laps adrift of the race winner, Lewis Hamilton. It's actually interesting. There, I'm just looking at this official F1 race classification. Magnussen only did the one stop, 9th place. I think after the penalty, he landed up in 10th, but managing to secure a point for Haas in some pretty desperate times.
Well, the Haas will finish in front of Ferrari.
That's right. You got a Haas in the points and a Ferrari out of the points, so it's not bad. It would have been better if Grosjean was also up there, but down in 15th. So I'd say it was a good day for Haas considering what they've been going through lately. Alfa Romeo, just disappointing, really. Nothing really special coming out of that team. They just they seem to have declined this season. Would you guys say Alpha have declined? I think Williams and Alpha are pretty close.
Sadly,
I think Williams and Alpha are pretty close in performance. And then Renault, not a good day for Ocon. Ricardo.
I think Ricardo is just driving the hell out of that car. He's really pulling a max compared to Albon, basically, where he's finding that 110% from that car. Not that I'm saying that Ocon is not driving that car at its limit, but Ricardo is just able to find it extra.
Ricardo and Max, they actually did it with their teammates Red Bull as well. There's just something about him that they can take something extra out of the car. That's why Red Bull moment, but they can still be up there thanks to the driving techniques of some of the drivers.
I just
And that team.
what did you say now that there's fuel gauge on? I think it was the Alpha, right? Was it?
Or the TP stuff.
Yeah, the Williams. He's referring to the Williams.
Then what's next? Alpha Tori, not much to speak of. Gasly had a shocker. Or was it Honda that had a shocker? I'm not sure.
And it was from FP1.
I think
It was from FP1. I mean, they didn't even participate in FP1, so we could already start it for them being on the back foot.
just yeah, no, not a good time there for AlphaTauri and the Honda engine. I mean, you've only got a select number of motors for the season, and it's already a bit of a stretch. And then if you have a weekend like that, yeah, you just know the end of your season's going to be covered by penalties. The other AlphaTauri finished off in 12th. Kvyat, really not a great showing this weekend from them. But I'm going up this list from the bottom to the top, and didn't think I'd get here so quickly. Ferrari, what they had a mixed weekend. One of the car out of the points, one of the cars in sixth, but I think Ferrari would still expect better than sixth and being lapped by a Mercedes. It's not really what they were hoping for going into round 3, where their B spec car was supposed to be launched. What happened to that?
Well, Ferrari is just going. Not even going. They're going backwards. They're not even staying on par with last year at the beginning. They're going backward. Lost all the power. But you have to say,
with the updates that they brought, that car is now going in the right direction.
No, it looks better. Is it? I think it's going in the direction to close the embarrassing gap to something more sustainable. But I don't think they're going to catch the Merc. I don't know if they're going to beat the Merc. And I spend a lot of time on Twitter. I read too many tweets. But there was a tweet that it's been retweeted over and over. I'm actually just going to try and find it. I'll come back to that. I just want to quote it properly. But yeah, no, I don't really know what Ferrari's going to do there, but really just adding bits and pieces to the car is not going to be enough to catch and beat the Mercs this season anyway. And if this is going to be the baseline for next year's cars, then
I think they might as well scrap this season and next season.
it's a bit worrying.
I see that Bernardo says that the entire car project has to be revised. That they will not be sacking anybody.
What do you think? He's gonna get a call from that big boss thing.
Yeah, that's if he doesn't get the sack himself. Yeah, I'm not gonna look for that article now, but I was actually speaking to Muna the other day. We came across an article that said that Benotto's successor is already in line, and that announcement may be made as soon as mid-August. So if Italian media is correct, I don't know. You can't read too much into the Italian motorsport media. They're very bad. Yeah, they'll come up with anything. But
a lot of people were saying that when who was the previous guy that was in charge of Ferrari again?
Maurizio
Arriva Bene.
At the factory was a very serious approach to Ferrari's F1 development program and shit.
Yeah.
And when Bonotto took over, apparently it was very relaxed. The guys felt more at home, and I think that change has affected them because I mean look at 2017, 2018's car. Compare it to car.
I just think
Then the Nopsa takes over and they're taking a step back.
I think Merck has pushed. I think Merck has pushed the team to like beyond what we know as a team. Like other teams need to adapt their way of doing things. If you know if they're going to keep up. I mean, remember Merck had that one race where they got a bit of noise there in the background.
Sorry.
Got a no problem. I forgot where I was going with that. But thanks, Mona. But yeah, another where the Ferraris basically split was when Vettel changed his strategy. Did any of you guys notice that?
Oh yeah.
Basically the two Ferraris were on identical strategies. They started on inters,
Yeah.
supposed to go on to softs, and then finish the race off on hards. And when Leclerc got the call, he went in, he put on the softs. When Vettel got the call, he said, "No, you can put on mediums." And yeah, that I don't know if that's got anything to do with how they landed up 6th and 11th, but Leclerc got held up for a long time, and yeah, it's that where experience comes in. I don't know, but it was the right call. But even that being said, that is a wrong call again from Ferrari. Vettel shouldn't be correcting his. You know that's their speciality. That's what they
Yeah.
should be doing. If you go back
Yeah,
to
they've got how many guys and how many databases of
if you
guys
go
to deal with that.
you know, you talk about the Merc era and the Ferrari era, and people like to compare them, but they were two very different things. And the Ferrari era was based on basically the driver, Michael Schumacher, Jean Todt, Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne. It was all these brilliant heads together working together. Um, Ferrari at the moment is just disjointed. Staff comes and goes. We've had how many? How long was Jean Todt in charge? Until Schumacher left.
That was many years.
Until Schumacher left, and I know he was there. I know he was there in '96 when Schumacher started. So
Correct.
you know, one boss, one driver, the entire era.
Like 10 years, if not more.
Was he? If you want
He
me,
was also
was he? If you want me to reference your, if you want me to reference your comments, you're gonna have to use not so colorful comments.
Is he using explicit language?
he did
No,
not
he's
like
just
it.
but
After Devon broke that cherry, I think we can.
love it.
That was an honest mistake, guys. Come on.
Oh yeah, no, that was good, and it came from Devon. It actually came from the least expected. Didn't expect him. I didn't expect him to be the first one to drop a bomb on my Twitch channel. I
Why is it just like he's saying there what most people in the box would say, and Benoni and wherever, both because the clear to hindsight of Ferrari and break his football like Marquez did.
so
Very possible.
what about the start, guys? The I'm talking about the second Mercedes on the grid. What happened? What
Pinkies, yay.
what happened there? And that's another example of F1 rules complicating themselves to the point where they don't really make sense.
Well, you can copy the car that was made last year, still can't drive on the second row.
I actually looked into that, and it's really interesting how it's been done. It's like basically the 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 break part, the what they're talking about now, what they're protesting now, and what they want to get banned now. As I understand it, this is going to come to nothing. They're not going to get banned. The brake ducts are not going to get banned. They're not. Because apparently the rule came in this season. Okay. So if they took a picture of that or if they copied that last season, all they had to do this season was make a slight alteration and it's their design. So that's what they've done. They've made very slight alterations on all of those parts, and that car is legal. And the teams that are protesting are teams that either don't have an option of doing that because Red Bull don't have a senior team. Who are they going to copy? Yeah, Renault, they're going to have to come up with their own design. So if a team on half the budget can just buy a much better car than the one they're trying to build, that's why Renault's just really jealous, and the other teams are jealous that they didn't think of it first. But coming from Red Bull, they have said that if this racing point is deemed at the end of the day to be completely legal, then they will do the same thing with AlphaTauri. So yeah, expect that AlphaTauri to start looking a lot more like a Red Bull in the future if F1 doesn't close those rules, and I actually hope they don't. I think it's for the best for the smaller teams. And Renault, you're a manufacturer. Pull out the checkbook and stop being stingy. We all know you're not running Merck's budget, and you're huge in Europe. You've got tons of money, so they need to put their money where their mouth is, and they got to stop trying to win F1 on a budget because it's not going to happen. If they want to be in the sport as a manufacturer, I think they need to, put their money where their mouth is.
Now with the budget caps are coming, I suppose that they'll be doing a lot more with a lot less.
I would still like to see some sort of implementation of the budget cap affecting the driver salaries. Um, you know, in a if you had a cap on a driver's salary right now, how many more teams could possibly afford Vettel? Because there's only so much you can pay him. Hey?
Lawrence can afford it. Lawrence Stroll.
I know that those rumors we're just talking broadly about F1. We're supposed to be talking about Hungary, but yeah, the race was boring, guys. We'll get back to it in a second.
Well, I suppose if Lawrence can afford it, the Tifa can definitely afford it.
Was he saying there that Bottas 3.0 short of confidence? He has to cover his beard with a mask. This
I think he didn't drink enough vodka in the hills again during the off season.
apparently Gunther Steiner's words were not even this ridiculous mask can hide this smile on my face right now. So he was very happy with that 10th place. Shows you what one point from the FIA is actually worth to these teams. Well, going back to the Lawrence Stroll, Aston Martin, those rumors are ramping up a lot, and I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't happen. I think the only way it would not go that way is if they maybe let Perez keep his seat for a season, and Vettel decided he would make his return in 22 with the new cars. I don't know, but seems like Perez is on his way, and that's pretty sad because there's no other seat for him to go to really. Where could Perez go?
I don't know. That's the scary thing. He'll be another Hulkenberg that just gets bought out, basically.
John and I was on a party chat on Sunday before the race. I think John and you were watching F3, and the we were speaking about the drivers that are coming through F2 with F3 and F2. The amount of drivers that has the potential to be in F1 car, but they can't because there's only 20 cars on the grid. So it's sad not to be able to see these kids, to see these guys in the F1 car, so they could do something like endurance racing, whatever the case may be.
No, look, the pathway to F1 over the years, there was a time it was incredibly difficult to get to F1, and it still is incredibly difficult to get to F1. But like 20, 30 years ago, your chances were much, much less. Okay, now um, South African drivers have gone to Europe. They've picked up great sponsorships. Um, what's that? Uh,
Sorry,
Was he? Better to drive the safety car.
but South African drivers, a lot of South African drivers have gone to Europe now in the last few years, and they have made a success of themselves in multiple series. And but a few years ago, it really wasn't that easy. A lot of South African drivers would arrive in Europe, and sponsorship just wouldn't be available, and a lot of guys just ended up coming back to South Africa. And that happens in countless other countries. So uh, it's the same as Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna wanted to drive in Formula One, and the only way he was going to do that is he came to Europe as a teenager. He left his family and came to Europe as a teenager by himself to drive go karts. So it was very difficult to get to F1. They've opened up the ways. They've now you've got Formula Two and Formula Three, and you get Formula Three across Europe in different formats, and the W Series and Formula Four. So there's a lot of ways to get there, but the problem is once you get there, there's still only 20 cars. Um, so and if there were 20 cars, in Formula 2 there's I think there's also 20 cars or maybe 22, I'm not sure. But Formula 3 I think there's 22. Um but basically on any given weekend, just about any driver could win that race. And in F1, we know that's not the case. We know why that can't be the case because it's F1. But if you've got three teams, not so much anymore, but three teams dominating the sport, let's say you've got that's 6 seats. So you're talking about 20 seats, but is it really 20 seats? Because how many drivers, Brendan Hartley, how many drivers get to F1? They've got a record behind them. They're not useless. They didn't get there for free, but they get there and they simply just fall out of the sport and they're forgotten after a couple of years. Nobody speaks of Brendan Hartley anymore, and he was a world endurance champion.
he is. So he's doing the 6 hour spa. He's part of the Toyota LMP1 car with Sebastian Buemi and Kazuki Nakajima.
I'm not gonna reference that for Twitch reasons, but
Yeah, no,
oh well.
sorry. If you do want to know what you're
Good.
laughing at, go read.
Just read the comment section. It's probably more entertaining than us. We've been trying to get. This is now this is the eighth episode. This is the eighth episode of the podcast, and I've tried to get this guy on the podcast so many times. Maybe he'll come on now because we're not. Maybe he'll come on now because we're not using cameras anymore. Maybe maybe that was why he didn't want to come on. He was too terrified to show his face. Camera shy, yes. There we go. Well, he was a commentator, so he's done that part of it before. So yeah, if you're willing to join the podcast next week, no camera, you can do that. You can join. So a very knowledgeable person, but I actually enjoy him in the comment section too. Keeps it alive, keeps them talking. So back to Hungary. Um, got sidetracked there, big time. But I think the last team I spoke about was Renault. Next one, Racing Point. They had a good race. Seventh and fourth. What do you guys think of that Stroll performing at just the right time?
I think it's very good.
Do you think that psychological contract things playing on his mind already? That's why he's down in seventh. Never had a problem beating Stroll before.
Well, it's not like that is in a 5 years old son. Let's just get that straight.
Don't even you
Noid. Noid.
Hey, your dad like his mama's boy, mama's gonna divorce daddy.
I think that shit is long.
So Mr. Stroll Senior also need to look at his own interest.
Well, who is
I think
so this is the Stroll consortium. Who else is with him in the consortium? I suppose there's other people as well. It's not only his.
No, he probably looks at himself in the mirror and like, you are also part of it.
no, but he had a good race at the end of the day. I think what did he start? He started in third place, ended up in fourth. Um, considering it's just two Mercs in front of him and a Red Bull, and he's the best of the rest. I think he had a good race. He held it there the whole race. Did finish almost a minute adrift of the leader. 57 and a half seconds adrift of the leader. So top three were really in another race. So yeah, but I think he did a good job. I actually went and read a bit on Lance Stroll, sorry, and see if he's really just a pay driver. Like obviously his dad's helped him get to where he is, but if you look at his record, the man's actually got quite a record. I was quite impressed. I mean, in his first Formula 4 championship, he drove for Prema. I'm sure you're familiar with that team. They're almost in everything, and he won the championship with 7 wins, 13 podiums, and 5 poles. The next year, he took part in he won the Toyota Racing Series in Japan. Same year, he entered the Formula 3 Euro Championship. He won one race in that year, and he was in the same lineup as Giovinazzi, Leclerc, Russell, and Albon. Then next year, he stayed in Formula 3, and listen to this for a record. So his second year in Formula 3, he started off 2016 by taking part in the 24 Hours of Daytona. He was fifth, and then had his last season at Prema Formula 3, 13 race victories, claimed the title with 4 races to go, 187 points clear of his nearest competitor, and then dropped out of the Ferrari program to join Williams. So guy's actually got quite a record behind him. He's got a lot of podiums in his day and a lot of race wins. So who knows? Maybe this is just that example of a lot of guys get into F1. They're damn good. They're not in the right car, and this is just an example of one of those drivers maybe getting a car that actually has potential, and he's able to now show that. Perez was also very quick in qualifying. Now Lewis, at the end of the day, I don't think there's too much bad you can say really about the performance. He still finished 9 seconds ahead of Verstappen and did the extra pit stop just for the fun of it to pick up the.
Lewis, when he joined, he got into a good car when he joined. It's not like the other guys that went to a smaller, weaker team and had to fight to stay in F1 and build themselves up. The team noticed.
No, definitely, they've all had different entries into Formula One. I mean, you look at Lance Stroll. I don't think he'd be there if it were not for his dad's money. Um, you look at a guy like Michael Schumacher. He was almost not a Formula One driver. Michael Schumacher, I think at the age of 15, was it 14? I think at the age of 14, Michael Schumacher was offered a contract to join the Bayern Munich Youth Academy. He could have been a very good soccer player, and if you watched any of his charity games, he was a damn good soccer player. So Mick also plays in those charity games today. So yeah, both are actually very good soccer players. But luckily they chose F1. But Mick actually, I wasn't going to really talk about F2 and F3, but since we're talking about Schumacher, Schumacher did have a relatively good weekend. Just missed out on a podium in race one. His tires were going off towards the end of. No, he did. I'm sorry, he missed out on second place. He got third place, held on to a podium in race one. Also got a podium in race two. But the Formula Two race on race two, Formula Two, that that's why I like watching Formula Two, because you can really, if you work it out and you're like, wait, this should work, they're allowed to do it. The guy that won the race, Luca Giotto, um, he didn't pit. That's how he won the race. He didn't pit. It was that team's first win. Like he got their first win, whatever. He had just moved to the team. I think it was High Tech GP. They're in Formula Three now. They're also in Formula Two, and that was their first Formula Two win. And yeah, the guy just didn't pit. He didn't pit at all. And when everybody else went to pit, the guy behind him it was over 30 seconds, but he was closing the gap. I'm talking 4 seconds a lap, and the commentators were saying no, he needs 5.5 seconds on this lap, and he goes and he gets 5.3, and he was chasing him down, and literally if he had another corner, let's say if the start finish line was after turn one, he would have caught him. That's how close it was. So he just held on, and he managed to just hold those tires together, and they were really falling apart at the end. He was the final lap. He was 5.9 seconds slower than the guy in second. So yeah, that was actually an awesome race, and we had rain almost affect in some way all of the Formula 3 and all of the Formula 2. And when it got to Formula 1, it just pulled a Jeff on us all. It said it was coming, but didn't happen. Nope, didn't happen. It could have really spiced things up. Maybe a safety car. That's exactly what we needed. Just bring this field. That's all. Let the whole field lap Lewis. That would have been quite. Okay, Lewis, the safety car is gonna let the lapped cars unlap themselves now. What's going on? The whole field's going through. Can I go? No, Lewis. Those are the lapped cars. You have lapped the whole field. I'm not happy with these tires, guys. But anyway, and then obviously the the next team on the list, Red Bull, they had a somewhat interesting day. It almost started off with disaster. I thought Max wasn't going to get off the line at one stage. Um, so many conspiracy theories in F1. You'd be surprised. I've already seen one suggesting that that was on purpose, and I don't believe that for 1 second.
For what reason?
That he wanted to adjust his suspension.
If they do notice the
If they do that, they would have seen it after the race. So the car goes into Park Ferme, and they would have seen that. But all sorts of crazy stories popping up, and I'm like, there's no way in heck they're gonna tell you break the wheel, but not bad, eh? Because like we have to fix this on the grid, so don't make a mess of it. Just neatly.
Did you see the other thing that was coming out from the whole Red Bull garage? Apparently, there were accusations that Albon mechanics, when they were cleaning down the brakes, they were deliberately drying the grid spot.
With a fan.
That's what Devin was referring to at the start.
With a fan, yes, I heard about that.
They were cleared, so they were not penalizing you.
There's your F1 championship at the moment. Lewis Hamilton obviously leading the championship. He's past Bottas 3.0. I hope that's not the last we've seen of Bottas 3.0 in 2020. I hope if the Merc is going to dominate this season, then I hope Bottas steps up and
Because as
you know
earlier
pulls a
Johnny
Rosberg.
basically take on Hamilton.
Vettel 9 points.
There we go. You're actually looking at the screen. Yeah, Vettel on 9 points after 3 rounds. That's actually like if I just attend the next 3 round, if I attend the next 2 rounds of TnB and retire in both of them, the points I get for attending, I'll be equal to Vettel. I'll have 9 points after 3 rounds. So I really can't feel bad. But I mean, he's below the driver that's going to replace him, so he really doesn't have anything to complain about. Sainz on 14, Stroll 18. Vettel is below Stroll in the championship. That's right, and Stroll is tie with Leclerc in the championship. Albon and Perez on 22 apiece, and then Norris fourth in the championship. Didn't score any points in Hungary, unfortunately. Otherwise, he could have kept that going. Maybe he could have stayed ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen's up to third, and then Bottas relinquishes that lead that he held for the first 2 rounds. But yeah, then let's have a look. What's the constructors? If I can just get that to work. There we go. Merc, Red Bull. Look at that points lead after 3 rounds. It's ridiculous. It's what 60, 66 or something like that. So Mercedes 121 points, Red Bull 55, McLaren 41, and then Racing Point 40. That makes Ferrari fifth best. Fifth best. Haas picks up their first points of the season, so at least they know they won't go pointless for the whole season. But Williams still searching for that first point, and honestly, I hope it's Russell that gets them that first point because they got a point last season and it wasn't Russell. That was actually Kubica came up with the with the 10th place.
Russell's always been close, and then right and luck on the last ending laps.
Had the Latifi used 6 sets of tires. Is that right? Yes. He used inters, softs, 2 sets of mediums, another set of softs, and then at the end he finished on hards. So that, yeah, Latifi had a disastrous one. And then spoken about Red Bull, spoken about Racing Point. There's only one team left, and there's not much to say. What are you going to say about Merck? They.
If they don't win it, then there's something wrong.
It's really Merck's. It's really Merck's to lose. I was talking about a tweet earlier. Couldn't remember what it was, but it's actually a bit scary. I hope it doesn't happen. Just because it would be the biggest kick in Ferrari's face that could ever happen. But if you work this out, if Hamilton went on from this time and won every race till the end of the season, he would beat Schumacher's record at Mugello, at Ferrari's 1000th race. And yeah, so Bottas, you need to step up and you need to interrupt that. I'm okay with it if it happens a week later, but not at the Ferrari Pride and Joy track. Let's not do that, please.
That's putting salt in the wound there.
There's actually also the anniversary of Michael Schumacher's 5th World Championship. He equaled Juan Manuel Fangio on this day in 2002. 18 years back when Rob was 2. And so was Daniel. Okay, two of our viewers were born in the year 2000. I'm old as... I'm not going to swear because my name's not Devon. But, I try to be professional from time to time. But you wouldn't know it. But if you've ever been in a party chat with me, you'd not think I would be a good choice on a podcast. So, guys, what's next for Formula One. We're not going to talk about it too much. No predictions or anything like that because there's nothing coming up this weekend. But we know what's coming in 2 weeks. We're going to Britain for the next 2 weeks. Anyone particularly fond of this circuit? Do you think we're going to have 2 race weekends without rain in England? Is that possible?
No way, can't be. No.
There's always rain in England.
We'll have to actually speak to Matt about that.
Speak to Matt about
The rain probability in the UK.
It's like what 90% probability that always rain.
I think it would be pretty shocking if we got 2 dry races in 2 weekends out of Silverstone. That would be like qualifying or practice or nothing affected by rain at all. I mean, that would be a serious bet. You'd win serious money on that if it was actually dry for 2 full weekends in a row. But I've actually spent a couple of hours in England twice on a connecting flight, and both ways it was raining, it was cold, and it was overcast. And
you walk out with a jacket and you walk out sunny. Next 5-10 minutes, it's damn well raining.
Sounds fun.
Yesterday. And that was in summer.
I know it sounds fun. It's just if you've grown up in South Africa, you don't really fit into the rest of the world's climate. Doesn't suit you at all. I mean, I spent time in the States, and their summer is just. I mean, I live in Gauteng. I've got the high-felt summer. How many high-felt summers have I lived through? But in the States, the summer is, yeah, it's something else. It's probably the first time I've ever felt that feeling. Oh, is this what it feels like when you're about to faint? Yeah, no, I worked in like 52-degree temperatures. It was pretty insane in New Jersey. But their winter is the northern hemisphere is no fun.
That's when you get snow.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, in the States, we got all the cold. We didn't get the snow. So thank you, Canada. And Trump probably built that wall on the wrong border because if you wanted to warm up the place, that's where the wind's coming from. So just as an idea, no, Trump's big on social media. So, but
Sorry.
yeah, he probably shouldn't be big on. So he should probably get off social media. That clown. He's very interesting. He keeps us all entertained. So what's going to happen in? Does anyone remember what happened? If we don't remember, let us know in the comment section. What happened last year in Silverstone? Is it a Merkfest?
It was Memphis, I think. It's where Red Bull accidentally took Verstappen out. Missed his braking points and T-boned.
So we're gonna have
That's one thing that stands out.
gonna have two British Grand Prix, and hopefully Hamilton doesn't win both of them.
Chief, that thing about Merck.
I hope he references the crowd in one of them at least.
I can remember what happened in TnB Silverstone last year, though. I think that was.
Yeah, you were well, that was your last race from it was comms boxing. Never look back. Poor was.
Yeah, I know Devon.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Devon started off driving last season. I don't think from the beginning of the season. I think he joined somewhere in the middle of the season, and started driving. And then at some point he was, you know what? I'm going to sit this one out. Do you mind if I sit in the comms box and just, watch? So yeah, that's how that turned out. Devon never drove a Formula One car again, besides in the test session when he's trying to steal information from Alpha to put on his broadcast. But
Well, Alpha's banning me from the private practices.
no, we've got a. You see, what happens if we run a practice session on the Friday, and then you get one or two individuals who come into the practice, do a couple of laps that are clearly sandbagging, so give us no data at all to at least, well, he's here, but at least we can use his data and see what kind of lap times he's doing on the different compounds. Just come in, sandbag, sit in the party in silence, and yeah, really, if you could do the whole Spygate thing on the commentators, that would be quite a controversy. Are you selling alpha information?
I would never.
Who would he sell? Who in TnB? If TnB was subscriber based and it was $1 a month, TnB would be empty. We're a bunch of cheapskates. So who would you sell? Who would you sell Alfa Romeo data to? Really? Who? Okay. In the comment section, is there anyone you think would be that desperate for a championship? And whose data would they buy? But it's just while we wait for guys to and Rob, don't sandbag in your comments either. That is a sandbagging comment. That is just like, I'm gonna write something here, but it means nothing because clearly it's a lie. But no, just to while we wait for these guys to come up with a few possible answers. What happened in MotoGP? And do you think if you watched MotoGP back to back with F1, did that result in F1 looking a bit more boring? Because what a race!
Yes, I would say definitely yes.
What a race! What can I say? Mark Marquez. If you know me as a MotoGP fan, you'll know I'm not the biggest fan, but I can't say anything bad about the man.
Credit to you.
He ran wide, went into the gravel. First of all, I don't know how he didn't fall off the bike when he got into the gravel.
And then went to last place.
Managed to get. He was behind his brother. He was in last, and yeah, he managed to get all the way up to third, fighting for second, and the Honda wanted no more of it, threw him off the bike. He went for surgery Tuesday morning, as well as Carl Crutchlow. Um, Surprising though, Carl Crutchlow is aiming to be at Jerez this weekend racing. So he is a madman, and he's obviously Alex Marquez has taken his ride, so he needs to do what he can to try and find a ride for next season. He can't sit out too many races injured. But Brad Binder, what do you guys say about Brad Binder?
Yeah, where do you start? Where do you start with that? Yeah.
We need to talk about Brad Binder. I know, I'm sorry, we've gone over the hour mark. We warned you in the beginning. We were going to go over the hour mark. There's too much to talk about. But Brad Binder, what a start. First of all, the qualifying position. If he had just stayed there the whole race, I would have been impressed. But what a start. He had some very big names behind him. You guys still there?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. But
I can't talk with in this spot.
basically at the start, I was the only thing I was a little bit disappointed there with the Brad Binder ride, and I can't really blame him for it. But he was making his way up the field at a rate of knots. I mean, he passed Valentino Rossi like it was nothing, and when he got to his teammate, he not that there was a lot of coverage on it. I didn't really see the two KTM's much on track, but from the leaderboard, I never saw him change position at all. So I don't know if he got to his teammate and he was just sort of holding position, and that's when he made the mistake. But I would if Paul Espargaro hadn't been where he was, I think it would have been very interesting to see how far Brad would have gone, because I think he might have just tapped off when he saw he was behind his teammate.
But I think also depends on what tire he started on. So maybe he had the soft front, or had to really nurse it. You know, you don't know how he was trying to manage that, because if you look at Vinales, he backed he really did. But
Oh no, definitely. He was. He
You know,
was. I think he was like 30. Was half a minute behind the guy in last when he got going, and managed to finish 13th. He managed to get his first MotoGP points
yeah,
on his debut ride. Finished 13th, which is where he started, 13th. So eventful race to get back to where he started, but I think he had a great race. Just a mention of his brother, Darren Binder, hasn't been doing too well of late in the Moto 3, but he actually had quite an eventful race on Sunday. Didn't work out too well for him in the end, but also started from 21st on the grid. Watched the qualifying session, and when I saw him 21st, I was rather disappointed. And in the race, his highest position, I believe, the position I saw was third, but I believe his highest position was second. Um, but he started losing positions. I'd say in the last 2 or 3 laps, he went down to fifth and then dropped the bike. So he DNF'd, but he went all the way from 21st to a potential podium. So Darren Binder, hopefully he's finding his speed as well, and will one day be on his way to Moto 2 and maybe join his brother up in the. How cool would it be to have two South African flags in the premier class of motorcycle racing?
no, it would be awesome.
I think that would be, and uh, and the boys from Potch. He's come a long way. Come a long way from Potch. Obviously, another driver coming through the Spanish program. Apparently, 16 of the riders currently on the grid have all come through that successful Spanish program.
There's a
Um,
lot of, it's the same with the Red Bull Rookie Cup. Same thing. I think, didn't Oliveira come through there?
Oliveira came through the Rookie Cup. Brad Binder, Darren Binder, they've all come through the Rookie Cup. But before the Rookie Cup, basically you get like Spanish superbikes and like local domestic Spanish racing, and that's very very strong, and it basically feeds MotoGP. If you look at World Superbikes, if you look at MotoGP, there's Spanish riders everywhere. There's no shortage of them, and it's because their entire program of how they push their riders through is the best in the world. If you actually look at MotoGP 20 years ago, you'll find a lot of Americans, and it's because at that time they used to look for their riders elsewhere. They used to teams used to innovate a lot. So Yamaha, for instance, would look around and they'd say, okay, this guy, he's really good on an off-road bike. Let's phone him and get him to test a MotoGP bike, and that used to happen. Used to get a lot of Americans that had more off-road experience, really, joining the ranks of Moto 3 and 2 and even GP. There was one rider that was very famous, a New Zealander. Was it McCoy? Was he in the comment section? Was he? Was it Gary McCoy? I think it was Gary McCoy. There was a rider that came through MotoGP. This guy came. I don't know what you call that, but it's an oval, and yeah, it's an oval, and you basically the bike is turned the whole time in order to make this thing, and he used to slide the bike ridiculous. Every single braking point, you thought he's gonna fall, and the tire would just grip. So they used to look at it. They used to very much incorporate other riding styles, but I think MotoGP has just like the riders and everything are just they're on a different level right now. If you're not on that MotoGP level, you can't just jump on one of these bikes, and that's what makes Quartararo so impressive. This is his second season, and I mean Binder, that qualifying session's anything to go by, and what the commentators were saying, the commentators like him, and it was a great performance.
I saw another tweet about the commentators were saying that judging from your first race, this is something to look forward to for the year.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And it's not like he's on a top bike.
honestly, I
It
think
looks
the
good for this
pickings
season.
are
I think, yeah, maybe
not really bad this year. Let's say
maybe
they've spent some money on it.
maybe they'll get to a track that just really suits that chassis and might still get a KTM one too this season.
Well, I
That
remember it was in the rain that KTM really
that
shines.
that KTM in the rain is
Yeah,
yeah, I think
it's where their bike really shines. So I think if we've got a red race, I think we can expect maybe a podium. I'm just putting that. Maybe we don't know.
was he just saying that Darren is a bit of a all or nothing rider, takes too much out of his tires at the beginning of the race and just needs to learn to manage them a bit. Obviously, that's like one of the major differences, but besides the bikes versus the cars, so obviously in F1 we've got pit stops, and that's how you got to manage your tires. But in MotoGP, there's no pit stop. It's a shootout from beginning to end, and you get to decide which tire you're going to start on, and then that's your choice for the rest of the race. You've got to live with that choice. You can start on the harder tires. It's going to take you much longer into the race, but people are going to pass you at the start like ridiculously. And if you're going to start off on the soft, you got to remember that at the end, you need there to be enough rubber for you to get to the end. So
Because that was Yale's plan. If you look at it at the start of the race, he really tried to build that gap, and he couldn't
he couldn't
because
he couldn't get away.
he knew with those soft tires they would eventually go off.
He knew he needed to. That was the whole plan. Was he needed to get in front and he needed to get away, and
Yeah,
build a gap of 8-10 seconds. And by the time his tires started going off and Quattararo started catching him, that gap would
they're
obviously
fine off.
make up for
Yeah,
it and he'd be able to
yeah,
stay there for longer. But that didn't work out because the time he was supposed to be running away, Quattararo was staying with him, and when his tires dropped off, he was right there for the picking. So that didn't work out so well, and Satellite Yamaha beating the factory Yamaha. I'd love to see it in Formula One. Really would love to see a Williams beat a Merc outright on the racetrack. Um, but that's the two stark differences between the pinnacle of cars and the pinnacle of bikes for some reason. But well, we're going to a bike circuit later this season. We're going to Mugello. So we'll see how that goes. Familiar with it from MotoGP. I don't know how they're going to put Formula One cars around there. Don't want to be too negative, but I'm predicting a bit of a hungry, because from what I know of that track, it's not going to be easy to pass. I think it shares certain characteristics with Hungary, and if you're going to pass, it's going to be at the end of that extremely long straight.
yeah. It's got a lot of flowing corners, nice flowing corners, but like you said, I think
It's got a
we can expect the same.
Yeah, it's like Hungary. If you can get into the flow of it, it's a nice flowing circuit. But if you're trying to make passes and the guy in front of you is sticking to his racing line and you're not in DRS, you're gonna have a really hard time. So
Yeah,
heard it here first. There's the prediction. Actually, let's do that. Let's do that for MotoGP. We've got MotoGP this weekend. We don't have Formula One this weekend, so instead of doing we'll do Silverstone predictions next week. This week, let's do predictions for Jerez version 2. First prediction
okay.
coming in from Wazzy. Brad on the podium this weekend. Heard it here first.
Sure. Yeah. I would have gone for a top five finish, maybe.
Look, if he puts it on the podium in his
Oh,
second race.
I'll finish all my alcohol that's in my house. I can promise you.
Oh wow! You know what? If they I remember in Moto 3 when he won his first race. He stood up there awkwardly for about 20 seconds because yeah, they were looking for the anthem. So okay, and eventually this guy was winning races. Like he used to jump on the podium and the anthem just started. Like so they've got it there. They're ready to press play. And yeah, if we could hear the South African national anthem on top of a MotoGP grid, I think that would be quite a thing. It was in, it was interesting. His first race win at Moto 3. That was the first time I actually heard Horsi Sikaleli on the podium like that, and that win came from stone last on the grid.
Yeah.
Stone last on the grid at Jerez. So Jerez is actually, if you ask Brad Binder, actually I've seen an interview where they asked him his favorite track is Jerez. So might have been why he was so strong last week. Really strong track for him, but he's got a second go at it. He's got a bit more information now about the bike, bit more knowledge about the bike. I think he's just gonna get faster with every lap he does. It's learning.
I mean, the other thing you gotta look at is look at Alex Marquez. Also, rookie season, first race, battle.
That's
I mean,
that's
in
that
qualifying, he was nowhere.
that's the guy you should be comparing him to. Don't compare him to Paul Espargaro. Paul Espargaro has been at KTM for 3 years now, I think. So compare him to the guy that came up with him at the same time. So they've got the same level of experience. They probably had more or less the same amount of time testing the relative bikes, and we know what Mark can do with that Honda. So it makes it look really bad when Alex is driving around in last place for a majority of the race. You've got a Repsol Honda under you. That shouldn't happen. So he's not. A lot of people were disappointed when Paul took his seat, but he's not doing himself any favors. Plus, that other Honda seat that they say he's going to is not yet confirmed. If you go look it up, it's not confirmed that Alex Marks is going to LCR Honda. That's just a very strong rumor. It's very likely, but it's not confirmed yet. So if he really does make a mess of this season, Crutchlow could still get re-signed. So that's not a done deal, and we could still see the younger of the Marquez brothers maybe moving back down to Moto 2 if he doesn't get a ride that he's happy with. And then yeah, that was basically it. So and then obviously I'm not going to go too much into Moto 3. I've got to be honest with you, I look at the riders' names and I'm not familiar with them. Obviously just Darren Binder, he had a good go at things and then he retired, like I said. And then in Moto 2, uh, future Petronas Yamaha rider, mark my words, you heard it here first. Winner of Moto 2, Luca Marini. Guys know who Luca Marini is?
I didn't watch Moto 2. I was.
Okay.
This weekend, I didn't watch it.
Luca Marini is leading the championship. He obviously won round 2. Remember, this is round 2 of Moto 2 and Moto 3. It's round 1 of MotoGP. So he's leading the championship, Luca Marini. And he's a VR46 rider. So he's got connections to Rossi. But he's not just a VR46 rider. He's Luca Marini. He's Valentino Rossi's stepbrother. They share a mom. So, yeah. They grew up in the same house. He's got the best coach in the world. And a lot of people saying potentially going into the future that Petronas Yamaha team could be made up of Rossi and Marini. So that would be interesting having those two together. And if he's winning races like his brother did, he's a youngster, just coming into GP. He's just in Moto 2, not even in GP yet. So a lot of talent coming through, and I think Brad knows he's got a lot of competition. But how do you think it feels when you're riding a MotoGP bike and all of a sudden you look up and you see the doctor on the back of the guy's leathers?
And you boss him.
Surely you have a moment where you're like, wait a second, is this for real? Because yeah, you were racing against some pretty big boys. He did a good job. We look forward to it this weekend. Obviously, first start off on Friday with the TnB race at Bahrain. if you guys are not watching, actually, there's quite a few guys watching. I'm impressed with how well this has held up. We've been rambling for ages, but yeah, as soon as this ends, I'm sure the time trial lobbies will fill up once more. Um, gonna go into too much detail about guys' times. I don't think guys like it too much, but yeah, from what I've seen in time trial, there's got some really fast guys. Times are very very close. Um, Basically, on the time trial, obviously everybody's list is going to look slightly different with the friends they have. But on my list, I'm currently 10th, and if I find two tenths, I'll go fourth. So that's how close it is. So really close stuff, and more familiar territory than Vietnam. So hopefully the guys will be able to bring their A game and see what happens on final predictions for Friday from the comment section. Rob, Wazzy, give your predictions. Who's gonna? There's your podium prediction from Wazzy for MotoGP. Uh, Quattararo, Maverick, Binder, Morbidelli, Dovizioso, Miller, Espargaro, Rossi. That is a seriously long prediction. That is the top five, top six, top seven, top eight.
In front of Morbidelli.
Who in front of Morbidelli?
Miller.
Miller. Yeah, Miller doing a really good job. You got to remember he's on a satellite Ducati, and he's also making a fight of it with the factory Ducatis, and it's awesome. That's why I hope that the Racing Point thing comes to nothing, and they're like, yeah, you know what, that is part of Formula One, and you guys just didn't think of it. So if you want to copy cars, and you know what, if we've got six cars that look like Ferraris, and we've got eight cars that look like Mercs, I really don't care. I want close racing, and you know what, even if there's not passing on track, I want them to second guess me in the pit stops, and I want there to be close racing. I don't want to be on lap 3 and go, okay, well, if that Merc doesn't break down, I know where this is going. So but yeah, now they've got a break, a 1 week break to relax before they head off to Silverstone. I'm sure saw on Instagram this morning that Grosjean is going for a well-deserved break. I don't know what well-deserved, but anyway, he's on his way to Greece. So the Formula One drivers going on a mini vacation, and then we're gonna have Formula One back for another 3 weeks. It'll be Silverstone, and then what's the race after Silverstone? But the race after Silverstone is exactly 1 week after, so another 3 week stint of Formula One. But this weekend, at least we got the
GPR.
At least we got the GP to so that we don't just go completely with nothing after 3 weeks of being spoiled.
Spoiled.
Guys,
Endurance racing.
any
Coming soon.
yeah, there's also endurance racing. I'll actually let you and Devon talk about that, whatever details you have on that, because I don't know much about when it comes to endurance. So what's happening this weekend? What do we know?
It's Imola, isn't it, Devon?
There's a GT4 is
Yeah.
this weekend. Then the 6 hour spa is on the 15th of August. And that is part of I think that is part of
The Infinite. Yeah, it's a Continental Series, yeah.
Yeah, but those are 31 cars. That's a proper big.
Which actually gives us hope for Kalami because it seems like there's more teams.
Doors now. Yeah, it's closed down.
Yeah.
Closed doors. Yeah, closed doors. But at least the racing is there. Some big
That's one thing.
Obviously, pushed back.
Yeah.
Pushed back by a month, I think.
Sky Sport, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's with Antonio Felix Acosta in a LMP2 car, I see.
He's a good endurance driver. That's really where he actually made his name. It wasn't in F1. He did like how many races? I think it was 24 drives or something like that. Wasn't a lot.
He was actually he's another forgotten product of the Red Bull racing program. Yeah, he was destination Formula One, and then it was basically him or Carlos Sainz. So there's a lot of drivers that get really close, and they just unfortunately fall out of the system, and they go and they realize that Formula One's not for them, and you got to get there at a pretty early age. You know, you can't be probably 31 and unless you're Alonso or Kimi, but if you're trying to get in there for the first time, you're probably not going to do it now. So I think when the drivers are 24, 25, and they realize it hasn't happened yet, they start looking at other motorsports that are just as good, really.
I see Giancarlo Fisichella is also doing the 6 hour spot, but he's doing it in a GTE AM.
In a Ferrari, or
Yeah, the Ferrari 48 GTE.
Always a Ferrari.
he always drives a Ferrari.
Ben Keating as well. Some.
Just disappointing that his time at Ferrari in F1 didn't come to much. But thank you guys. Any last words, Munna, Johan, Devin? Any last words?
Have a good week, everyone. We'll catch you all next week. Yeah.
So that's it. We're gonna be on our way. This our
Grosjean went to Greece not to go on a break. He went there to go break.
I could make so many jokes regarding that place right now, but I'm not gonna do that because no, we can't do this. That if I ever miss my breaking point and hit my teammate, just know that what's gonna come out of my mic is gonna be, oh, not Seb. No, we can't do this. But I absolutely love that Twitter video. I think it's brilliant. But thanks to all the viewers. We were up to 11 or 12 at one stage, but we've had like 5 or 6 guys that have been solidly on here. So thanks for watching, and we'll do this again next week. It'll probably be a shorter episode, but when we got the Formula One and the MotoGP and the league, it all gets a bit much to cram in. So thanks for staying with us, and yeah, remember to follow the channel if you haven't, and this will also be available on YouTube tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See everyone on Friday.